Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. And welcome to each and every one of you back to Shack Attack as we take the show forward after being away for quite a while for COVID 19 lockdown related reasons. And we are back indeed, hoping to engage you, motivate ourselves, and for us as a people and a community to move forward freshly towards the end of this year, which was one of much stress and suspicion around each other and around viruses and around economy and human livelihood. And now we're hoping to end it off on a positive note this year by discussing various things that matter to us and propelling us forth for a new year come 3 months time. But for this evening, myself and Akhil speak to Aaisha Dadi Patel, a media studies lecturer at Wits University, as we unpack the Paul's homemade ice cream debacle, which took to social media this past weekend, whereby the ice cream chain released and launched a flavor, the Burfi flavor on a stick, and branded it as the first South African Burfi flavor ice cream on a stick. And this was met with social media discussion, in some way uproar as well, around whether this claim of the first Burfi ice cream on a stick is actually legitimate. Aaisha Dadi Patel being one of the stronger voices on social media against the idea that this was the first, remembering the many Indian women who actually sell Burfi ice cream for a livelihood for generations already. Akhil, of course, we know we're going to be speaking to Aaisha soon, but it's also our first time back in the show after quite a while. So I hope that you're feeling well about this. I am definitely, and really looking forward to engaging with our listeners as well. And to those listeners, please do call in on our call-in line, WhatsApp us, tweet us, engage us. We don't want to be in an echo chamber over here. We'd like to hear from you. So, Akhil, I'm not sure if you want to say anything before we bring Aaisha in.
Yes, absolutely. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I think it's really, really lovely to be back. I think we've missed all of you, and hopefully you guys missed us as well. And a tough year and a busy year for a lot of us. And I suppose there's a kind of a different spin on the show going forward. And it's something I'm especially excited about, not least about the conversation which we're going to be having in a couple of minutes with Aaisha. But I think part of this, and Shaquille and I have discussed this for quite a while, which is this idea that the show is not just about unpacking things, but it's also about trying to get people to be their absolute best selves, trying to get people to function at their optimum and to achieve whatever they most desire in the world. And part of our segment, a segment of our show every week is going to be just focused on, how do we become, how do we manifest our best selves? And I know it sounds like some kind of odd, hippie sort of philosophy, but that isn't the case at all. It's about how do we find practical means to try and function at optimum on a daily basis. But yeah, so let's get straight into this conversation with Aaisha. And Aaisha is a media studies lecturer at the moment, and she's been a columnist for everyone from the Mail and Guardian to the Wall Street Journal. And the tweet she sent out really has caused quite an uproar on Twitter for what at some point was one of my favorite ice cream places, which is Paul's Ice Cream. And so let's get a bit of context behind this, right? So Paul's Ice Cream came out and they essentially said that they've created this Burfi flavored ice cream and that they were the first people to do so in South Africa. And we know, obviously, coming from, a kind of relatively Indian tradition, that isn't the case, and that we've been, our parents and family members and small Indian businesses have been making these sorts of things for a huge amount of time. And so Aaisha tweets, I like Paul's, but to call this South Africa's first Burfi-infused ice cream stick is disingenuous. It hugely erases the contributions of many, largely women, people of color-owned small businesses, especially ones to whose culture Burfi belongs. Representation is good, erasure is not. And that tweet, I think, got 260 retweets and almost 700 likes, if not more, and has really sparked a really interesting conversation around cultural appropriation around social media management and around Burfi ice cream. So let's get
Mm.
right into it. Let's chat to Aisha. Aisha, assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam. Walaikum salam, Shakil and Akil. Thanks so much. I'm super excited to be on the Shack Attack, one of my favorite shows.
It's a great pleasure to have you this evening with us. And while we discuss something that is quite controversial at the moment, one can't help but actually crave this particular delicacy that we are speaking about tonight. But that's not what we're here for right now. We're actually here to talk about the social media presence of people taking to the streets of Twitter to register their dismay at Paul's Ice Cream's management, not only of their branding around a product they were launching, but also of the response to people responding to their claim that they were the first. And in my opinion, it was more the response that followed that was so harmful rather than the actual product and it existing as a offer or offering rather for South African consumers. Tell us a bit about your relationship with Paul's Ice Cream and the very variation of flavors that tend to tap into South African flavors and cuisines, and how Burfi is just merely one of those now. But also, what drove you then to go to Twitter and the response that followed after that, coming to you as quite a surprise when people tended to agree and disagree with you at the time.
Look, Shakil, I think, Poles is a brand that is built out of something which many of us can align ourselves with. It's a small business owned by a young person who was able to take it to great heights, and it's amazing to see the journey it's taken on its own. And many of us have lovingly supported the brand over the years, like Akil was saying. Um, and I mean, I personally, I've been buying from Paul before he was even uh, a household name. Have been a
Mm,
fan of his, and so um, to see the reactions to us giving feedback on something as consumers of this product has been dispiriting, I would say, because here is a brand which I support, and as a consumer, I am giving you feedback based on a product which you are claiming um, credit for and erasing the history of. And it's really interesting to see the that the brand themselves have had to how this has gone down. Um, the reason I say that is because I mean I saw a, the reason I went to Twitter is because I saw a lot of people posting comment section of the Instagram post announcing the Burfi flavor. There were tons of people commenting things ranging from when can we buy this and how can we buy this to this is not true. People have been doing this for years. So people were already making the comments that I made on Twitter on Instagram. And so all I did was make the same comments on another platform,
mm,
which is where it blew up quite significantly. And what was interesting is that from even before the time that they responded by putting out the disclaimer, because it was not an apology. I think there was an article that um, mistakenly printed that Paul's apologized. They didn't apologize for anything, right?
mm,
Um, but before they put that out, they were responding to comments saying you could buy this online, you can buy this via this, but not acknowledging any of the other comments. And I mean, I'm going off on a bit of a tangent here, but one of my friends actually commented on their post, guys, please apologize for what you've said and fix this so that we can move on and I can add to cart. And I very much agreed with that, right? Because again,
yes.
here's a brand
Mm,
that we're all familiar with, a brand that, like Akil is saying, is all about indulgence every now and then, because we love the flavors, we love the fact that it's something homegrown and something relatable and something that's pretty rare for a delicious, very filling scoop, right? And
mm,
unfortunately, it didn't pan out that way. Unfortunately, we didn't get an apology, and so unfortunately, we didn't add to cart, to put it very simply.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I want to provide a little bit of context to this and read their apology. That's fine. So Paul says, all right, let's address the elephant in the kitchen. To those of you who have been offended, upset, or moved by our latest product launch, this was definitely not our intention, and we'd like to move the conversation forward as openly as possible. So let's talk about it. To start, the highly talented individuals responsible for the conceptualization, development, making, and marketing of this product are all people of color who grew up making and eating burfi in their homes and communities. We're delighted that our product development team are able to draw and use their culture and heritage in their creative culinary pursuits, and it is with pride that we share these products with our customers. The art of cooking or baking has always been about experimenting with flavors, textures, and ingredients from all over the world. It is for this reason that we do not entertain any statements around us putting out a burfi-infused ice cream amounting to cultural appropriation. Burfi is an integral part of the heritage of the people involved in this product, and Paul's homemade, and they have every right to make use of it in a professional capacity. For as long as Paul's homemade ice cream has been active in social media, requests for Burfi ice cream has been without a doubt our most sought after flavor. Okay, and they go on explaining that. And then finally they say, when we said that we were introducing South Africa's first burfi-infused ice cream sticks with chunks of decadent homemade burfi, it was with the weeks of brainstorming and product tweaking we had done in mind. Of course, we were not the first people to ever make burfi ice cream. That was not the sentiment with which we put the statement forward, and definitely not the way we wished for it to come across. Thank you for sending links and photos of other burfi ice cream sticks. We're excited to go and try them. So, I mean, if you have to read that, they're essentially acknowledging that, okay, and I think, Aisha, we had the conversation around cultural appropriation. That's a conversation perhaps for another day. And I think we can both agree that perhaps this isn't cultural appropriation, or perhaps there isn't an issue directly with cultural appropriation. So what is the primary issue which you had with them claiming to be the first, firstly? And secondly, the apology obviously comes across as arrogant, right? But do you think that they're wrong in a manner in which they apologize?
So I'll start by addressing your second question, which is that actually, I won't even say I'm addressing the question. Akil, that is not an apology. That is a statement, right? There is nothing indicates being apologetic. There is nothing in there that indicates any kind of accountability. There is only kind of this very arrogant, like you say, and arrogant and slightly aggressive as well tone that kind of is also I don't know what the word is, but it's gaslighting readers, right? So by saying obviously that's not what we meant. We said this. Don't say that to me because you said what you meant. And it was very clear for us all to see. And that is what we saw. So don't treat me as your consumer who is giving you feedback as someone who is stupid, because I'm not stupid. I saw what I saw, and I'm telling you what my issue is with it. So don't tell me, no, you didn't see right, first of all, right? Secondly, my issue, and you're very correct in saying that cultural appropriation is a big topic that is another discussion for another day. But my issue is the erasure, right? It's and I mean I'll read from follow-up tweets which I posted, which is after people were saying to me, well, why are you overreacting? This is just about ice cream. And the thing is, this is not just about ice cream. Yes, ice cream is the thing that is causing all of this conversation, but it is also the thing that's bringing broader issues to the fore, right? It's about not recognizing the very significant contributions of many other people who have spent years, because according to multiple people in my mentions, Kulfi Ice Cream has been producing burfi ice cream since the 70s or 80s. Years building products which appeal to this specific consumer market, which comes from a specific cultural background to which they also belong. So it's people who come from a community creating products for their own community, right? Is the erasure of that whole narrative, the erasure of that entire history attached to Burfi ice cream, right? It's that a powerful white-owned brand, because race is very significant here, is happy to step on already existing legacies which are deeply meaningful and a source of culture, tradition, love, pride, and joy in our community by not recognizing them. Because Burfi is something that's meaningful to all of us, right? Half the time when we say Eid Mubarak, we say enjoy the Burfi, right? It's something we associate with special days. It's great that you want to add and to build. So, I mean, by all means, create this product. There is nothing stopping you. But do not take away from what we built ourselves in doing that, right? It's great that you have a diverse staff, because in their statement they mentioned we have this staff who are part of this creative process. That's very cool to hear, but that's also the first time that we're hearing about this diverse staff. So where are this diverse staff, and how else are their contributions reflected? Where else is what they have to say reflected in the brand?
But okay, then to what?
So
First of all, just to
those.
answer Sajida Khrief's question on Facebook, she wants to know: has the product been released? Yes, it has been released. I don't know details about distribution. You can find out from polls themselves. But in terms of to what extent do we want to know about those people that are part of the team? We understand that teams change all the time, and if you represent the community that came up with Burfi ice cream, then potentially the issue could even be with them if they were so eager for that labeling to be put. I'm just throwing that out there, that it could be that they were not advocates enough for the creation and creators of the ice cream itself, and were witnesses to this being marked and marketed as the first. So is that the issue, or are we only going to be satisfied when we find out who they really are, and when we see more of them in Paul's open branding, or are brands like this, happily able to remain anonymous in terms of who works in their kitchens and contributes to their flavors? Before we move to other aspects of this issue, which there are many.
Honestly, Shakil, I feel like, overarchingly, Paul's response or lack thereof, or very surprising response even, is something that both begs all of the questions you just posed, and also kind of answers them. So it's really strange to me how this whole thing is unfolding, right? And I guess that's where the story is at right now, is that why are they responding so strangely? Why are they being so brazen about how they clearly don't care about the things that they're being called out on? And I think what a lot of people are wondering is, who is this team behind Pauls? Because we know Pauls to be Paul, right? That's all we know Pauls to be. And so I think it's opening up a lot of questions about who are the people who work at Pauls, who are the people who work in flavors, who are the people who work in the social media department, who